This morning's Farm Report is sponsored by LS Tractor. Start blue, stay blue.
This year, make LS Tractor your all-season workhorse. From spring applications using LS tillers, box blades, rotary cutters, and grapples, to winter applications utilizing LS snow blowers, blades, and brooms. With this lineup, there's no job you can't do with LS tractors and implements. Learn more at lstractorusa.com or check out your local LS dealer.
Well, good morning, folks. A great big howdy to everybody. I'm honored to be here. We appreciate the abiding weekly support of LS Tractor Company for sponsoring this agricultural report that I attempt to put together. And their tractors are really great. They have a wide variety of implements that go with them. LS Tractors. I have an article from the Progressive Farmer magazine of a recent issue that highlights U.S. crop exports. And our crop exports contribute greatly to our balance of trade. Yet, with the exchange rates on our money and different circumstances around the world, sometimes I fear that our exports are threatened. So I'm asking you by way of this article, are U.S. crop exports an endangered species? In 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower started what would later be called the Food for Peace program, an effort to take America's big grain surpluses and use them in a way that would fight world hunger and promote U.S. interest abroad. It was a practical economic solution which, with humanitarian benefits that was hoped would also limit the appeal of communism and promote democracy around the world. Foreign policy is inherently complicated, and reasonable people can disagree about the level of goodwill achieved, but it did seem to have positive benefits for the U.S. In 2023, we find a much different world for U.S. grain exports, one that is in decline. It has been more than 10 years since the U.S. led the world in soybean exports, and 7 years since the U.S. led wheat exports. Even U.S. corn exports were knocked off the top of the ladder in the 2022-2023 season that just ended in August. USDA estimated 1.6 billion bushels, that is, of corn exports for the U.S., the lowest total in 10 years, and well short of Brazil's 2.2 billion total. The world is changing, and in the case of grain exports, there is no easy end in sight to declining market share for the U.S. In the case of wheat, it was a matter of time before the countries caught up. What is grown in every continent except Antarctica and doesn't require the most fertile land to get a decent crop as long as fertilizers are available. Here in the U.S., wheat acres have been on the decline since the 1990s, increasingly swapped for corn and soybean rotations after ethanol brought in a new market to corn. For corn and soybeans, Brazil is clearly the rising Goliath in terms of adding new cropland. Just last year, USDA estimated Brazil would increase cropland by 49 million acres by 2031, a pace the U.S. can't match. The world has changed a lot since President Eisenhower's Food for Peace program, and a new group is now exerting its influence over world trade. The 5 nations, known as BRICS, you would pronounce that BRICS, it's an acronym, are made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. China is a major investor in many developing countries, and along with Russia, the two make sure Brazil's farmers have access to all the fertilizer they need. Despite Western sanctions, Russia continues to make money on oil sold to China and India, two countries with big populations that will need more food and oil in the future. The group is also wanting to add 6 more nations to the club, including Argentina, which is already financially obligated to China. It's no wonder Russia is trying to add Ukraine to its list of holdings. New challenges are emerging, and the stakes are high for U.S. agriculture. It is no wonder today what Eisenhower would think with the way things have evolved. So that's just something that's going on in agriculture, and it's one more challenge that our farmers face. And I remind you that with our population, far under 2% of our population farm today. So we don't have a whole lot of farmers who are still in the game. Those in it farm in a tremendous way, most of them. Locally, you may be traveling in and around Rocky Mount, throughout Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson counties, and beginning to see the cotton fields open up with beautiful bowls of cotton. And there's a science to that. Our farmers have to spray the cotton with a material called defoliation, and it knocks the leaves off the plant and exposes the bowls with the cotton to the sunlight and to the heat. And when a good crop is made, it's a beautiful sight. I'd like to share a few minutes now about cotton defoliation. In recent weeks, it was discussed what could happen to this crop depending on the weather. The defoliation of cotton is very critical to good dry weather, and cool temperatures, wet temperatures can conflict with the good clean process of defoliation. A lot of these questions have been answered by this time, however. A few parts of the state received somewhat timely rains during the month of August, and there's a decent chance of having an acceptable top crop in those areas. In other areas that were impacted by severe heat and drought during August, which is the majority of the acreage in the state, a few recent rains have helped fill out a few bowls, but very few in late August, early September blooms were retained, eliminated chances of making an acceptable top crop. In other words, the cotton plant blooms with flowers. The flowers turn into bowls, and it happens from the ground up. And with good weather, you can make a terrific yield if you get the right weather and all in the top of the stalk. And if you don't, the top of the stalk doesn't yield very much. So what happened recently is in September, some blooms or the plant rebloomed in the top of the stalk, and they were retained, and it eliminated chances of making an acceptable top crop. The exceptions in these drought-stricken areas are irrigated areas. As normal, the crop is variable from field to field, and even within fields, therefore careful examination of the crop on a field-by-field basis is necessary in order to make adequate and timely decisions moving forward. For irrigated fields or areas of the state that receive timely rains during August, it will be important to monitor the status and development of any top crop. Try to determine how many younger bowls are retained at this point in time and gauge their maturity. In most cases, those bowls are still developing and are a few weeks away from maturity sufficient for defoliation. For most of the North Carolina acreage where drought was experienced, there isn't much top crop, and maturity of the uppermost harvestable bowls has been reached or will be reached very soon. Defoliation of a few of the earliest maturing acres has already begun within the last week to 10 days and on a limited basis. We expect to see more widespread defoliation in the coming weeks. Only close monitoring on a field-by-field basis and slicing the uppermost harvestable bolls can determine if maturity is reached. Bolls that are mature enough to initiate defoliation will be difficult to slice, low in moisture, have well-developed seed with a darker colored seed coat, and lint will string out when sliced. Immature bolls that are high in moisture should be easier to slice. This reference to slicing has to do with determining how far along the developing cotton itself is in development and if it is actually mature and ready to be harvested. And so you go through a process of, as the article says, slicing the boll to determine that. And most of drought-stricken acreage experienced, we call it a hard cutout. And that means that the bolls are not opening up sufficiently. The cotton in the bolls is not fluffing out in a manner that you can harvest it in a good way. This article is suggesting a ride-by observation of these fields might suggest normal plant height with darker colored foliage that would be maroon to reddish brown, as was expected in situations as described. However, closer examination of these fields is likely to reveal very few harvestable bolls in the top 6 to 12 inches or more of the plant. This is because the plant aborted most, if not all, later blooms during late August or early September in an effort to continue developing some of the less mature lower bolls. That term in reference to aborting the blooms, if the plant does not get enough moisture and rain to continue the growth of it, it'll make a bloom and then the bloom will shed off and you will get no formation of a boll. And that's what that makes reference to. So at this point in time, what we have is a bottom crop. And this article continues to emphasize little or no foliage or rather yield in the top of the plant. It just isn't there this year. And what is there is the bottom of the stalk with bolls that are opening and being ready to harvest as we speak. So the size of the bottom crop varies quite a bit, but all of it is a bottom crop that is rapidly approaching maturity. As an expected product of recent rains, it appears that the plant has met the demands of the boll load and is now regrowing. And that's another problem. The plant will do all it can do, and there's a term called it'll shut down. It'll quit producing. And then you get rain, and the rain will, the plant will regrowth or will reinvent itself, and that'll produce a whole lot of vegetative foliage that is really not desired at harvest time. So this is what has been observed, and regrowth could happen, particularly with warm temperatures and subsequent rain that might come now. So that's just a little science lesson on defoliation, and it's really a science to it. NC State recently brought in a new dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. His name is Mr. Gary Fox. So we'd like to meet him and investigate some of his goals and his mission as the new dean of NC State College of Life and Agriculture Sciences. And here is an initial question for him. What are your initial goals as dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences? One of the most important goals is making connections with people and understanding where there are opportunities for growth. A primary goal would be to continue the strong partnerships we have with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, North Carolina Farm Bureau, and our industry and commodity groups within North Carolina. I am participating in a listening tour across the state where I can learn about all the issues facing our agriculture and life science industries and how NC State can play an even greater role. I'm going to find ways to provide resources both internally and externally to help our fantastic faculty, staff, and students succeed and be more efficient and effective in their roles. I'm interested in engaging with students as much as possible and in putting together student advisory panels to help lead the college. I will also be visiting the incredible network of research stations we have within the state. I'm passionate about making sure that we help those research stations by improving facilities and bringing in new technology. We need to continue to support the North Carolina Plant Science Initiative and translate the great research at the Plant Science Building to our stakeholders to really make a difference in the lives of citizens across North Carolina. We have an incredible opportunity to re-energize the vision of the Food Animal Initiative. How can we invest in and promote food animal agriculture research, extension, and teaching at NC State? Animal agriculture is such an important part of our agricultural industry. The next question was, what changes do you see on the horizon? His answer was, a digital revolution is happening right now and is coming to agriculture and life sciences. We've already started to invest in artificial intelligence, data science, and data analytics at CALS, that's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. But when you look at and consider these considerations, there's a lot of work that's yet to be done. It's going to revolutionize what we're doing and how we're doing it, not only in research but also in extension and teaching. Another question, you've worked jointly with the College of Engineering on the undergraduate programs in agricultural and biological engineering. Will you seek out new partnerships as dean? And yes, he's very excited about this, and indeed he will pursue that. Finally, the last question, what were your experiences with agriculture growing up? I grew up on a beef and cattle wheat farm in a very small town named Godley, Texas. I graduated with a class of 35 students and was heavily involved in FFA, including traveling the state of Texas, judging dairy cows, which provided so many opportunities to build leadership and public speaking skills. I'm a big supporter of youth educational activities like FFA and 4-H. I was a first-generation college student, and it was a shock coming from a town of maybe 600 people to walk into a chemistry class of 250 students at Texas A&M. But the thing I could control that was part of my fabric from growing up on a farm was hard work. It's hard to outwork me, and I plan to use the work ethic as dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Science. My time has expired. I've got to leave here now and go to the state fair. I'm helping up there at the Village of Yesteryear in the historic Heritage Circle. We have a tobacco barn full of green tobacco that was barned and strung and hung on Friday, and we are curing it now, and I'll be up there participating in that experience. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to share with you this morning. I look forward to next week. Have a good week, and God bless.